Welcome to the CNO's Navy Birthday All Hands Call. I'm Petty Officer Brandy Wills, and I'll be your moderator for this event. We'll be taking your questions from around the world via social media and satellite. With us to answer your questions, we have Chief of Naval Operations Admiral Jonathan Greenert and Master Chief Petty Officer of the Navy Mike Stevens. CNO, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, MC1 Wells. Hello everybody, and welcome shipmates, welcome around the fleet and around the world. It's really a great, great day. We get to do three very important things today. One, eat cake. Number two, re-enlist sailors. And three, listen and learn. And I'm here with my favorite rock star, the Master Chief Petty Officer of the Navy. Master Chief, thanks for being here today.
No, thank you. It's good to be here.
Let's start off with something that you and I really like to do. What do you say we re-enlist some sailors?
I'm ready, sir.
You all right with that?
Yes, sir.
All right, that's good. Hey everybody, how you doing today? Yes, sir. You ready to go? Yes, sir. All right, hoo-yah? Hoo-yah. All right, that's what I'm talking about. Okay, out here on the audience, if you will, please attention to oath. Raise your right hand and please repeat after me. I state your name.
I, John Jones,
do solemnly swear.
do solemnly swear
That I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
And I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same.
and I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
And I will obey the orders of the President of the United States.
and I will obey the orders of the President of the United States
And the officers appointed over me.
and the officers appointed over me,
In accordance with regulations
in accordance with regulations
and the Uniform Code of Military Justice.
and the Uniform Code of Military Justice.
So help me God.
So help me God.
All right, welcome back
All
in.
right.
Yeah, right, huh? Sounds good. All right. Okay, let's bring some points. Let's see who it is we have here today. Petty Officer Toon, where are you from, buddy?
Opnavin 1, sir.
No. Where'd you grow up?
Raleigh, North Carolina, sir.
Raleigh, North Carolina. All right. Tobacco Road. Where'd you grow up, Petty Officer Jarrett?
Emporia, Virginia, sir.
Emporia, Virginia?
Yes,
All
sir.
right, very nice. Redskins guy?
Yes, sir.
All right, where'd you grow up, Petty Officer Floyd?
San Diego, California.
San Diego? Oh, man, what a nice place. We got them out there. Petty Officer Noble, how about you?
Pretty good, sir. I'm from El Centro, California.
El Centro, California. Nice place. Petty Officer Blair, how about you?
Good, sir. I'm from Dayton, Ohio.
Dayton, Ohio? Okay, the Flyers, huh?
Yes, sir.
Very good. All right.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
First rank, left face, fall out.
Chief, where'd you grow up, buddy?
Conway, Arkansas.
Where's that again?
Conway, Arkansas.
Conway, Arkansas. You don't
Yes,
have
sir.
one of them sous pigs on your head, do you?
Sir, how you doing?
Petty Officer Turek. Where are you from?
Maryland.
Gaithersburg, Maryland.
I'm a Redskins fan.
I thought you were a Redskins fan. Where are you from, Petty Officer?
South Florida, sir?
Rivers Polo?
Yes, sir.
All right, South Florida. Very nice. Petty Officer Foster, where are you from?
Monroe, Wisconsin, sir.
Monroe, Wisconsin. Nice place. Petty Officer Burleson, how about you?
Congratulations to you.
Kenneth Square, Pennsylvania, sir.
Kenneth Square, Pennsylvania.
Yes, sir.
You have Eagles territory, right?
Yes, sir.
Very nice.
Second rank, left face, fall out.
Petty Officer Vandenberg, how about you? Where are you from?
Colorado Springs, Colorado, sir.
Oh, nice place. Too much Air Force, though. Chief Butler, oh, I'm so sorry. Well, how about you? Where are you from?
Mobile, Alabama, sir.
Mobile, Alabama. Very nice. Are you Roll Tide or are you War
Tide,
Eagle?
sir.
Roll Tide, all right. There's Mac, how about you? Where are you from?
St. Augustine, Florida.
St. Augustine, Florida? You look pretty young for St. Augustine. Isn't that where old people are?
Yes, sir.
Well, that's the fun of youth.
It
You
is.
have it.
Yes, sir.
All right, I got
Wait a
it.
minute.
Chief, where are you from, buddy?
Grants Pass, Oregon, sir.
Grants Pass?
Oregon.
Grants Pass, Oregon. Very nice country up there.
Congratulations, shipmate.
All right, very good.
Third rank, left face, fall out.
Okay, how about we'll talk a little bit and then we'll go to Q&A. Does that sound good with you, Petty Wills? Absolutely. All right. So, first of all, a little bit, where are we right now in this government shutdown? It's a regrettable situation, but like all sailors throughout history, throughout our heritage, we are where we are and we make do with the best we can do. And what I tell you is those folks that are out there getting it done today, they have what they need, they're on station, they're where it matters to do what matters when they're called upon. And that's what's important. Those that are next to deploy, they have what they need, and we'll make sure that that continues to work on. But we have some of our civilian shipmates who are out there who are furloughed, and we need to think about them. A lot of people have come back to work. We'll get things moving with our shipyards moving, getting and going, and some of our support functions for our sailors. That stuff's going to get going, but don't forget your civilian shipmates out there as we're out and about thinking about it. Let's talk a little bit about our heritage and what this all means, this 238th birthday. Last year, you might recall, we talked a lot about the War of 1812 and some of the important battles. And in 1812, it got started. But this is the 200th commemoration, if you will, of the Battle of Lake Erie. And what about that? Well, it was the Battle of Lake Erie where Oliver Hazard Perry and his crews really turned the tide up and around the Great Lakes area, which really turned the tide in that War of 1812. It was through their innovation, their perseverance, and really their skill. They were confident and proficient sailors. Long-range guns, good guns, they practiced, they got things done, and they defeated the British in that particular big naval battle. And they had a bold and they had a confident leader in Oliver Hazard Perry. And they're not all that different from you all today and all those folks that are out there and about. They had a force that was dedicated, that was innovative, that changed when they needed to. And as I think about this year, as you think about this year, it's the 40th anniversary of the all-volunteer force. That's our asymmetric advantage. That's what makes you, and all of you who are out within the sound of my voice, different from any other Navy in the world. It makes you the finest Navy in the world, the all-volunteer force. Those of you that are willing to step up and get done what needs to get done when it needs to get done. So I thank you all very much for that. And with that, let's get some quick questions and answers. Let's listen and learn, MCPON. What do you say?
I'm ready.
All right.
All right, sir. Our first question comes from USS Simpson, FFG 56. Standing by on the phone is Petty Officer Dan Kurt. Petty Officer Dan Kurt, go ahead.
Good afternoon, sir. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Our question for you here is, how will the national health care changes affect TRICARE and the other military health benefits we have?
Well, they won't change at all. They are two completely separate entities. TRICARE is for DOD and for active and for their if you will, families and for retirees. Two completely different entities, so there is no impact. Simple answer.
All right, sir. Our next question is coming in from Afghanistan. Afghanistan, when you are ready, go ahead.
Go ahead, Afghanistan.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, Master Chief. I am IS-3 Row, and my question will actually be directed toward Master Chief. As the Navy goes to a smaller, smarter Navy force, what incentives are being established to keep sailors in for 20 years, since most people who join just want to do 4 years so they can gain a trade or schooling, then get out and take what they've gained in the Navy somewhere else?
That's a great question, and what I'll share with you is I think that by and large the Navy is doing the things right now that are necessary to support our sailors and their families and help them prepare for life in and out of the Navy. Our numbers for retention show us right now that we're getting it pretty close to right. However, we're always going to look for ways that we can improve both the quality of life of our sailors and families, and just as importantly, their quality of work. Thank you for your question.
Okay, and our next question is coming in via social media. First off, happy
Social
birthday,
media, Iowa.
MCPON Stevens and Admiral Greenert. My question is for MCPON Stevens.
Okay.
Are we going to see any additional changes to CPO 365 guidance for 2013-2014? Thank you, MCPON. Hooyah.
Another great question, and what I'll share with you is I have no intentions of making any significant changes to CPO 365 for this upcoming season. I want to make sure that our chiefs messes and our first classes and our commands are comfortable with the guidance that's already been issued. I was just on the phone this morning with one of my fleet master chiefs, and what I've asked them to do is capture all the lessons learned from this previous season, and we'll take a look at them. And if we believe that there's some areas that we can provide some clarification, I'll issue probably a separate memo with that particular guidance. But all in all, the guidance is going to remain as is. I want all of you to become excellent at the things that we have and that we own and we control. Thank you.
Okay, and now we're going to get a question from one of our audience members. Shipmate, if you can come up and introduce yourself.
Hey, shipmate.
How you doing, sir? Petty Officer Wallace, Office of Naval Intelligence, Farragut Command. How you doing today?
Good. Where are you from?
New Orleans, Louisiana, sir.
Oh, man. LSU, I suppose, huh?
More Saints, sir.
More Saints, 5-0.
Yes, sir. I have a question regarding the evaluation system. Are you happy with the current enlisted evaluation system? Have there been any recent reviews of it? And if not, is there any momentum to do so?
I'm generally happy with it, the way it lays out today. I would say what we need to do when we think about evaluating people is be truthful and be objective. There is a propensity in both evaluation systems, the officer fit rep system, CPO, and our petty officer evaluation system, to kind of make people feel good, if you will. And when you move everybody, if you will, close to the top, and you don't break them out, you end up leaving people sort of hanging. And when hard decisions have to be made, and I'm going to use that word again, perform to serve. When we got into that system and we got to find out, who is the best, and they're all clumped up there, you're effectively turning over people's future to a board or to a large staff, and we don't want that. We need that to be done at the deck plane.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Our next question we are going to get live from Norfolk. Norfolk, when you're ready, go ahead.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, MCPON. I'm OS1 Craft from Navy Expeditionary Combat Command. My question is, with the ground wars winding down in Iraq and Afghanistan, what does the future hold for Navy Expeditionary Combat Command, and how does the CNO plan to employ us?
Well, the Naval Expeditionary Combat Command is in high demand. It's very relevant for the things that we need to do today and in the future. So what I'm telling you is the capability that Expeditionary Combat Command brings is relevant for the future. But the capacity that we need to maintain is it's not affordable in the fiscal and the amount of money we'll have in the future and for the needs of the future. So let me put it maybe more succinctly. We need the capability that you bring. We don't need the capacity, so we need to bring it down to a proper level that makes sense for our future.
All right, sir. It looks like the next question we have coming in is from our sailors in San Diego.
All right. Hello, San Diego.
Good afternoon, sir. MCPON, Jan1 Pfeiffer from Naval Special Warfare Center. My question for you is in regard to retirement pay. I've heard that there's going to be a decrease in the retirement pay, and I was wondering if you foresee the military having a decrease in the pay or no retirement at all in the forthcoming future.
I'll take this one. Okay. No, there is no reduction in the retirement pay. I can't foresee not having a retirement system, or we wouldn't have much of an all-volunteer force. That I can assure you. Now, there is a commission that was assigned by the Congress to look at pay, entitlements, and retirement. That commission is just formed. They are just getting started. The Department of Defense, in the form of the Secretary of Defense, he will provide an input for them to consider. This is a long way out. This is a few years out before the recommendations of this commission really get laid out and accommodated by our Congress. But this much I'll tell you, and everybody in the sound of my voice today, if you wear a uniform today, that is your retirement system, the one that you joined up to. That's the way it is right now. There's no reduction in the near term.
All right, sir. I was just told we have another phone call coming in. This time it is from Petty Officer Carl Anthony. He's deployed on USS Ramage.
Very good.
Go ahead, Ramage.
Good afternoon, sir. My question for you today is, how is the Navy going to stop the continued cross-decking of sailors to meet manning requirements on deployed ships? Sailors get sent to a parent command, and we do all the things the Navy says it's important to make a sailor feel part of the team, only to find after a short period of time they get cross-decked to another ship.
Shipmate, great question, and I will tell you your concerns have been our same concerns in the manning world for the past at least half dozen years, I will say. Right now, our end strength is about 325,000 sailors. Just a couple of years ago, it was about 322,000 sailors. The reason that you've seen, and we've seen this 3,000 roughly sailor increase is to mitigate, to try to eliminate to some degree the very problem that you're talking about with cross-decking of sailors. We recognize that it's disruptive to the unit, it's disruptive to the sailor, and we want to make sure that we're doing everything we can within the limits of our authority and resources to prevent this from being an issue in the future. So I think you'll see it get better. We'll continue to work at it, and hopefully one day we don't have this conversation. Good question.
All right, thank you very much, Ramage. We now have a question that came in via social media. And it is, with the LCS program production slowly ramping up, have you looked at extending the life of the Hazard class frigate?
Yeah, we have looked. The Hazard class frigate, by the way, the Oliver Hazard Perry class frigate, the guy from Lake Erie we just talked about from in 1813, it's been very effective. It has been a workhorse of the fleet for a long time. It's perfect for counter-narcotics, but they're old, and they're becoming obsolete, and they're expensive to maintain. And the fact of the matter is, it's time for them to go ashore. So the little combat ship is our ship for the future for the kinds of missions that frigate, that mine sweeps, and that our patrol craft that they perform today. So the little combat ship is our ship of the future for these kind of missions.
Our next question is from the 7th Fleet AOR. It is a pre-recorded question from USS George Washington.
Good morning, CNO MCPON. This is Karen Thomas, MMC, aboard the USS George Washington at sea. My question is, I've read that there is the Navy is trying to increase the number of ships in the fleet, and I'm wondering how is that going to be feasible with the sequestration and the rumored number of decreases in CVNs?
Okay, well, that's a good question. It doesn't seem to make sense. But this is, there's an important thing to remember. We have over 40 ships today under contract, 40. We are delivering ships at an increasingly rapid pace. So the fact of the matter is, despite sequestration, when it comes to ships coming in from commissioning ships, from new construction, that will go up no matter what. The impact of sequestration and reduced budget will be how many ships we may need to retire. And that's something that we'll need to balance with new construction. But we will grow as far as bringing ships in. It's a matter of how many we lose so that the net, due to how many we lose to retirement, so what is the net change?
All right, thank you, sir. We have another question that came in from social media. It's on the Navy's social media site. So Angel Rossi has a question for you, MCPON. Her question is, in regards to the Navy's Enhanced Carrier Presence Plan, if we implement this plan and expect to have more ships deployed at one time, is the Navy ready to increase the pay of sailors and the cost of maintaining deployed carriers and air wings out at sea? Sequestration will continue to decrease our budget. In fiscal year 13, the cuts implemented only in the last half of the year and were estimated to be a $37 billion in cuts. In fiscal year 14, costs are estimated to be at $52 billion. Is this plan still a go, or are we rethinking strategy?
That's a complicated question. That's a thoughtful sailor out there, huh? Somebody's been reading.
I was just reading this morning. No. I think I got the gist of the question, and it's really about pay, and are we looking at increasing the pay of our sailors as we operate a more complex fleet? And what I will say is that leadership, our Chief of Naval Personnel, this is something that we look at every year and review. It's something that's not done, pay is not something that's done within our own service only. It is something that is done across all of our services. So we have to sit down with all of our services, talk about what we believe the right pay levels are. We have that conversation, we come to a mutual agreement, and then the recommendations are moved up to the secretariat levels and then ultimately on to Congress and the White House. So yes, the answer is we're always looking at it, and we want to make sure that we are fairly compensating our sailors and other service members for the work that they're doing. I hope that answered the question.
Yeah, let me add a little bit onto it. The overall Department of Defense number is $52 billion. The number to the Department of the Navy is about $16 billion, and 14 of that, roughly, comes to the Navy, because we split between the Navy and the Marine Corps. The Enhanced Carrier Plan, the deal on that was we would increase the amount of time for maintenance, so we could be sure that all the maintenance gets done. We would provide adequate time to train, so that when ships got underway and did whatever amount of time was out there, it was predictable, people were fully trained and they were confident. And therefore, what you had was enough time to get the maintenance done, to get the training done, so that the deployments we were asked to do are the right deployments. The other part and parcel was that we manned the fleet in enough time to, as we talked about before, drive down the number of cross decks. All the money associated with this, good question. How do you do this in an atmosphere of sequestration? That is exactly the kind of deliberations we will have as we go through October, November, and December. Do you want more presence? If you want more presence, it will cost a little bit more money. How do we square that? And the department writ large, the Department of Defense understands that there's a cost to this, and we will have to ask that very question.
A good question.
Yeah, I know. You're thoughtful people. That's why we joined this outfit.
That's right.
All right. Our next question is coming from Afghanistan, and they are on a little bit of a delay. So Afghanistan, when you are ready, please go ahead.
How you doing, sir? MCPON. And my question is for the MCPON. In regards to the RC to AC FTS program, is there another phase that's going to roll out and implement more rates, more year groups, and more quotas for sailors wanting to convert between the different components?
Yeah, so your question is, right now we offer in certain ratings and certain year groups our reserve sailors to cross over into the full-time support and active duty components, correct? That's the question you asked?
Yes, Master Chief.
I will tell you, every year, and even throughout the year, we're looking at where we have shortfalls and where we can afford to bring reserve sailors into full-time support and active duty billets. And every time when we recognize that there is a need, then we send out a NAV admin, announce that, and afford a greater opportunity for our reserve sailors to go into the active components. Right now, we think we have that about right, and the manning levels are adequate for those reserve sailors that are interested in going into the active component. So please continue to look for those opportunities.
We're going to take another question from an audience member, so shipmate, please come forward and introduce yourself.
Здравствуйте, господа. Good afternoon, sir, Master Chief.
Afternoon.
I'm CTI-1 Martin, and as a Russian linguist, our primary deployment platform is direct support for submarines.
Yeah.
And on behalf of especially some of our junior female Russian linguists and those male counterparts that would love to share the sea time with them, is there any progress being made towards allowing enlisted females on submarines?
Yes, there has been. We have chosen the first two platforms, in fact, the first four, and kind of sequenced that. Now what we need to do is by March of 15, we will lay out the plan to determine how many folks we'll take for the first tranche, if you will, the first group, and on these submarines, how the hierarchy will be, because what we've learned the hard way, 30 years ago, it's 30 years ago really, we integrated females at sea in our Navy. You have to have the right leadership there. So the people who have role models, so people who have people that we can relate to when they come into a new environment, like we're talking about here, females on submarines. So March of 15, we will lay that plan out and move ahead. But the fact of the matter is, we're going to do this.
Thank you, sir. Спасибо.
Okay, our next question is coming to you live from Norfolk.
Good afternoon again, sir. Good afternoon, MCPON. Sir, it seems that neither NECC's people or assets were mentioned in the CNO's navigation plan. With the Pacific rebalance, how do you intend to project power and presence with NECC forces?
Well, NECC forces are, as a minimum, enablers, and in some cases, they are the primary mission and they are the primary forces. And so what I will tell you today is I apologize, because I didn't mean at all that they are not important, and I will guarantee you they'll be in the next edition of our navigation plan. And that was just really an oversight on my part. They're an important part of what we need to do to operate forward, and they are definitely warfighting first. Please stay. She didn't like the answer. I guess that means the apology was not accepted.
All right, sir. Our next question is coming from a sailor in San Diego. Go ahead, San Diego.
Good afternoon, sir. EM2 Arias, Naval Special Warfare Basic Training Command. I recently heard TA has been affected due to the government shutdown. How long will this last, and And do sailors have other options to continue their college courses this semester?
Yeah, it's a good question, and I'm sure there's a lot of sailors out there that would like to know what the answer is. So 30 September was kind of the cutoff. If you had TA approved for before 30 September that's going to take you into October and November classes, then that TA is going to be honored and you're going to be able to participate in those classes. If you go online to the Navy College office and fill out a TA application right now, those monies will not be allocated and you won't be able to use it to go to school until after the government shutdown is resolved. If you're taking CLEP exams, Dante's exams, you can take those, but you will have to pay for that with your own funds because those monies are not currently allocated. Thank you.
Okay. All right, thank you, MCPON. The next question is coming in from our social media once again. And it is, as the Navy reaches 238 years and the dynamics of our geopolitical and economic landscapes changes around the globe, what changes do you feel are important for the Navy to adapt to in order to meet these strategic challenges?
I'll take that one. Is that all right with you? You know, what this kind of just says to me is, look, we need to be where it matters so that we can act when it matters. And we need to be at what I call the maritime crossroads. If you look around the world and you look at where does our trade pass through, it's the Strait of Hormuz, it's the Strait of Malacca, it's the Suez Canal, right? It's the Bab el-Mandeb Straits, it's the Panama Canal. We have to have access to all of those places. We have to have our forces, our Navy, out and about somewhere in that area so that they can respond. We need places around the world, like in Japan, like in Singapore, like in Diego Garcia, like in, of all places, Djibouti. Yep, Djibouti, Bahrain. You get my point. So that we can operate in and out of there, be where it matters, with the right kinds of ships, with the right kind of people, like right in this room and out in the sound of my voice. That's the strategic landscape that is our imperative for the future.
All right, Admiral, thank you so much. Our next question is a pre-recorded question from a sailor aboard USS Nimitz.
Hello, my name is Lieutenant Rick Dorsey, and I'm currently stationed on board USS Nimitz as a shooter and as a division officer. Sir, my question is this. Ensign Chester Nimitz might not have ever made admiral in today's Navy because he had a court-martial and a letter of reprimand in his record. How do we avoid this culture of a zero-defect mentality that seems to be creeping through our Navy right now, where our chiefs and our junior officers are constantly looking over their shoulders to make sure that what they're doing is correct? How do we empower our junior officers and our chiefs to be able to make decisions without that constant overbearing look over their shoulder?
I'll take a crack at that, and then I'd like you to comment. Is that all right? Well, I'll tell you what I see come across my desk, and I see probably 12 of these a week. We call them purple packages. And what they are people's records who have been pulled from selection for promotion upon further review. And what these packages say is this individual may have had a DUI. This individual had some adverse thing occur, and 9 out of 10 of them are junior officers. And I would tell you, as they go through my review and the Secretary of the Navy, that almost all of them, when we look at, we say an ensign, a lieutenant JG, and in many cases a lieutenant, somebody who has made a mistake, we say, this is fine, and their record has shown that they have made a mistake but yet have performed very well after that, we promote them. So I'm not really sold on this zero defect. I'm sold on a zero defect for certain offenses, for drug violations, for sexual assault, for some of those things out there that we say there is no tolerance for that, and I think we've been pretty clear. Some people are in high visibility positions with a lot of schooling and a lot of time in service in them, and I would expect better of them. And we don't have to, these folks out here that go to sea under their tutelage and under their command, in some cases we can't tolerate it. But I would submit once again that I see tons of these packages where we promote the individual when they show a sustained performance.
Right.
What do you think?
CNO, absolutely. Our standards are high and we should not apologize for that. As CNO just stated, it's not exactly a zero defect Navy, but are our expectations extremely high for our sailors? Yes, they are. There's flaws, and then there's fatal flaws. You know, all of us make mistakes at some point in our career. We just need to be careful that we're doing the right thing and that those mistakes are not fatal flaws, because that can potentially cost you your career.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. We have a sailor in Afghanistan who has a question for you. So go ahead, Afghanistan.
Admiral Greenyer, this is Wine One Hens. The Secretary of the Navy, Ray Mabus, states that ships are going out to sea less. Navy pilots flying less. Shipyards are laying off. Will deployments be modified even greater than 6 months? Rates be downsized more, or other drastic changes due to budget changes? We have sailors wanting to further their Navy careers and are feeling pressure to leave when they want to stay in.
Well, we are, let me talk to first sailors that want to stay in. We have the Navy just about where we need it to be now, and my point is we have been hiring. This past year, we have been almost maximum capacity in our recruit training command. So we're hiring, we're sustaining, we're not pushing people out. But let me get to the deployment piece. Due to sequestration and a continuing resolution taking effect midway through the year in fiscal year 13, we had a situation where we had to stop deployments. We were going to send more ships out on deployment than we had the money to. So we had to stop those deployments. At that time, we went ahead and made the assumption in fiscal year 14 that we would be under the same situation. We adjusted those deployments. And so my point is, the longer deployments that folks endured in 13 and in the early part of 14 is a matter of an adjustment to, if you will, a consistent rotation. So what that means in the end is deployments are set at what the length is going to be, and for aircraft carriers, for example, for fiscal year 14, it'll be about 7.5 to 8 months, depends on them. For destroyers, about 7 months, for amphibs, about 7 months, for submarines, about 6 months. Point is, unless something happens when you're on deployment, and it's happening to the Nimitz and Carrier Strike Group right now, in the case of the Syria operation, unless that happens, we have our deployment length set for fiscal year 14.
All right, thank you. Let's get another question from an audience member. Please come up and introduce yourself.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, Master Chief. I am Midshipman First Class Emerson from the United States Naval Academy. And my question is, how do you see the Navy strategy in the Asian Pacific change in response to the growing military, especially the submarine force in that region? And I don't want to limit the question simply to the Chinese rise of sea power, but also include Japan, South Korea, Vietnam, or any other nation that might play a key role in the strategy in the future, sir.
Okay. Well, in our defense strategic guidance, which is really our strategy, we benchmark to the year 2020. And we say, listen, here's where we want to be around the world in 2020. The Asia Pacific is the primary region for us at that point. We still have to sustain the correct number in the Middle East, but we want to focus on the Asia Pacific. And it's 4 areas. One is forces, the amount of ships and aircraft and units that we have out there. And that will rise steadily through this decade to 2020. Today we have about 50 ships at any given time in the Western Pacific. We look to get to about 60 ships. So it's about forces. Number 2, it's about capabilities. What are the capabilities that we need to develop? The electromagnetic spectrum, and that's jamming, electronic attack. It's ASW that's also important. Counter-cruise missile, counter-ballistic missile. We benchmark that to the Asia Pacific to make sure that we're right out there. So that's number 2. Number 3, we are migrating our ships to Western home ports. From used to be 50-50 East-West Coast, we're going to be at 60-40, 60 West, 40 East. So it's home porting. And lastly, it's the intellectual capacity. In other words, how do we think about around the world our engagement? So we think, hey, we got to focus more on the Western Pacific, especially than we have. So that's Japan, it's South Korea, it's Australia, it's the Philippines and Singapore, and it's also China. Where do we want to go with these folks? It's India. And how do we want to resonate, making sure we're resonating their needs and our needs, and picking that up a little bit. And it's showing in our Rim of the Pacific exercise, which is our biggest exercise. Chinese are coming to this next exercise in 2014. It's expanding the complexity of the exercises we do with Japan, as you mentioned, with South Korea, with Australia, and again, the other allies in the region.
Thanks, sir.
You're welcome.
Admiral, we're going to go to sunny San Diego now. Oh, good. Go ahead, San Diego.
Good afternoon, sir. NC1 colleague, HSM 73. My question is in regards to the PFA. Do you foresee a change in the way the Navy measures body fat?
Well, we just recently had a lengthy discussion about the process that we use. Is it perfect? It's probably not perfect, but there's probably not a system out there that is. We believe that it gets our sailors measured appropriately. It's something that's, I don't want to use the word easy too loosely, but it's something that we can do anywhere in the world with a tape measure and the right qualified people. And it is a fairly accurate measurement. But that doesn't mean that we're not always looking for better ways to do it. And we'll continue to review our PRT process in its entirety and make sure that we're providing the best possible PRT process for our Navy at large.
Thank you very much, MCPON. Our next question is from social media, and the question reads, are any additional uniforms coming to the fleet, or are there going to be any modifications to the NSUs or NWUs? If so, will there be an increase in clothing allowance, as recently a lot of sailors have had to purchase these out of pocket?
Mr. Uniform?
So CNO and I get a lot of questions primarily about, recently about the Navy working uniform type 1 and the weight of that uniform. So I'll speak to that, because what I will share is that for the large majority of the rest of our uniforms, there's no intention to make any changes or significant changes. CNO and I both want to make sure that our sailors understand how to wear them and become experts at what we currently have in our sea bag. The NWU Type 1, right now we're partnered with the Navy's Uniform Office and with the Defense Logistics Agency. We're putting together a package of what we call lightweight NWU Type 1s for those climates that are fairly hot, mostly year-round. We're going to get these uniforms out to the fleet so we can do a proper wear test, because we want to make sure that if it's a uniform that we decide to roll out, that we've gone through all the proper testing and that uniform is adequate for what we're looking for it to be able to do for us. So we're probably several months away from being able to say whether or not we're going to accept that uniform, but hopefully everything works out. We can get a lightweight uniform in your sea bag at some point and keep the cost either where it's at right now or even lower for that particular uniform. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I mean, in the end, what we talk about all the time is, is it reasonably comfortable, safe? Does it look sharp, ship shape, if you will, and seaman-like? And will it last? And I'm always impatient to get this going, as you and I have talked about. But it takes time. It's a complex system to get it tested, to get it fabricated, if you will, constructed, and then all out to the uniform shops and exchange. So I just got to learn to be more patient, speaking as myself on the whole thing.
All right, sir, thank you so much. Our next question is pre-recorded, and it comes from the 5th Fleet.
Hello, my name is AO2 Beauchamp, originally from Avondale, Pennsylvania. I'm stationed on board USS Nimitz, currently deployed. My question for the Master Chief is, with financial worries affecting today's economy and military funding, is there any contributions or privileges that may affect the Navy as far as military retirement or tuition assistance? Chief.
A great question, and it's another question that everybody's probably wondering about. The CNO talked about a commission for a retirement just a little bit ago, explained that in some detail. What I will tell you as far as the rest of our entitlements and benefits is that right now it's something that we're currently looking at, making sure that we're properly representing our sailors and their families. But keep in mind that there's a balance that we have to strike. CNO talked to me the other day about quality of work and quality of life, and we got to make sure that we're using our money appropriately and that we're providing both those qualities for our sailors and their families, because they're both extremely important. But to really answer your question is yes, it's something that we're looking at right now, but it's something that we always look at, and we want to make sure that we do the right thing and get it right for our sailors and families.
Okay, let's take another audience member now.
Good afternoon, sir.
Hi.
Master Chief. ND2 Morozic, U.S. Naval Academy. I was wondering, I've seen as civilians are retiring or prior to the government shutdown, are retiring or are being laid off, that we're just plugging in active duty military to basically take on their duties as well as their own instead of hiring on new civilians. Is this going to be a continued trend? And if so, how long can the Navy sustain?
No, there's no plan for that to be a continued trend. Yeah, I think you're referring to the furlough that occurred in this past year. When you say laid off, is that about right?
With the furlough, there was
Yeah.
some people that basically were cut due to government cuts
Okay.
and stuff like that, just to clarify.
Yeah, no, there's no plan to have a, if you will, civilian swap, military to civilian. That would have been a temporary measure. What we've asked the commands to do is, what are the missions, the functions, the tasks that are done by civilians, by military? Show us what that is. Is there duplicative nature to that? Maybe yes, maybe no. But if you're going to lay off, if you will, or replace the civilian, what one should be doing is getting rid of the billet and the work that is associated to that, not just plugging a military into that billet. So what you saw would have been, should have been, and probably was a temporary move to deal with the furlough that took place this past summer. Okay, you're welcome. Where are you from?
Chicago.
Chicago.
Go
All right.
Bears.
Yeah, how about that? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Our next question we have is from our sailors in Afghanistan once again. So Afghanistan, when you are ready, please go ahead.
Hi, Admiral Greenart. This question is for you. We hear a lot about low manning levels in the fleet and the associated concerns regarding sailor burnout, the negative effects on Navy families, along with the impact on retention due to multiple deployments in order to fill personnel shortages on board ships and within air wings. Why then isn't there a dedicated formal program that would allow reserve sailors the opportunity to volunteer for at least one 12-month deployment every 5 years? A program like this would allow reservists to sharpen and hone their job rating skills in a continuous real-world environment, thus increasing their overall value to the U.S. Navy and Reserve component in the long term.
That's why we do this. Yes, you know, I hadn't thought of that. So let me read it back to you. You look at it among the reserve force, you go through the skill sets and find who might have the right skill set. Are they willing to mobilize to active, if you will, 1 year out of every 5 years, and see where they may fill in sort of an IA to the fleet. Does that sound right? Over?
Yes, sir, it does.
I don't know.
Yes, sir.
I don't know. Let me go back and talk to Admiral Braun about that. It might be a viable program and it's worthy of look. Thank you so much. That's why we do this.
That's why.
Well, it's not the only reason, but it's one of the reasons.
It's a good reason.
Okay. We have another question from a viewer. A sailor wants to know, are we going to get paid on time?
That's an easy one. Yes.
Yeah, that's what the Pay Our Military Act was really about.
Right.
And I think we are going to San Diego now. San Diego, if you are there, please go ahead.
Good afternoon, sir. My name is AZ1 Ortega from ComHSM Wingpack. My question is, if the debt ceiling doesn't get raised, will it affect service members' military pay and benefits?
No. If the debt ceiling doesn't get raised, it could mean a number of things. Let's just hope it doesn't mean that the country defaults. But if you got to that point and you remain shut down, one, or we went into a continuing resolution and had sequestration, two, in either case, you either have the Pay Our Military Act, which is where we are today, or number two, you're into you have a bill, it is a sequestered bill, but military pay is exempt. So in either case, military pay is taken care of.
That was all the questions we had time for today.
Oh my goodness. Are we done already?
We are.
Does that mean we get to cut a cake?
It's now time for
right,
our Navy
that's what I'm
birthday
talking
celebration.
I wonder what you were up to this morning, MCPON. You know,
The sword they are using to cut the cake is from the Naval History and Heritage Command. It is a naval officer's sword from the early 1800s, attributed to Admiral Farragut. The hilt of the sword in gold-colored metal, forming the shape of an eagle's head, and the handle is in ivory bone and has carved decoration. The blade of the sword displays an anchor and a ship on stormy seas.
You're
going to be in the middle, and then we'll just put our hands right on here. And then you got to look up at the camera and say, "Happy birthday, Navy." Happy birthday, Navy, huh? Okay. All right. Mr. Kluger, you did good. Lift this all up, and all these people are going to hang around, right? They all want to see cake.
Yes, sir. I would like to thank the CNO and MCPON for joining us today. On behalf of the Defense Media Activity, I'm Petty Officer Brandy Wills. Thanks so much for watching.